So next up we are sowing the Cynoglossum, which is a new one for the grow along. So I'm going to be creating these videos and then popping them up on YouTube. So we just have to wait a couple of days for the videos to go live on the website, but I will do them for you. So these you can also sow, just like the clary sage, up to 3 times. So late winter, spring, as well as an autumn jump start. And I love the autumn ones to be planted with the Nigella. They give a gorgeous blue haze of colour behind the Nigella plants. I'll put a picture on the screen for you in the next video, just so that you can have a look and see what I mean. Now, I did mention not to tray share the Cynoglossum, especially with the clary sage, because the germination is a lot slower, but it also needs the complete opposite and darkness for germination. So we're going to need to cover the seeds with a nice big sifting of compost, or we can use a seed tray that's got no holes. They're called gravel trays. We can turn one of those over upside down, just like we do with the phlox, and that will also plunge the seed tray into darkness. Right, let's get started. So here's my seed tray, already filled with compost, already watered from underneath actually, so it's nice and heavy because it is very warm at the moment, isn't it? So I'm just going to open my seed packet. As I said before, it's the packet with the cottage on the front, and you can see the name there on the sticker on the back. Here I have my seeds. You can see there's loads in there, so I'm just going to put a few into my hand to show you. Now, germination can be slower and a little bit more patchy than the clary sage, which is super easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 seeds per cell as usual, and then I can show you how to prick them out later. And I'm making a small impression in the compost, like so, because these seeds need darkness for germination. So I'm just going to take a seed at a time and just drop those into the holes. I've started in the middle of the seed tray just so that you can see. I thought if I start at the edge, you won't be able to see what I'm doing. I shall fill those in afterwards. Right, to save boring you to death watching me sow some seeds, I have got Blue Peter style, one that I started earlier. Okay, so I put my potting tray underneath to catch any mess, and I have a sieve which I'm going to now fill with some compost. Let's just move everything else out of the way, and then just lift and give it a good old shake. Let me move it out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. I've got a good covering. Any of these lumpy bits, I always keep those because they're quite handy to mix back in with the compost when it comes to potting up time in the spring. So nothing's wasted. There we go. And that should keep your seedlings nice and snug and dark. I did mention that you could use a gravel tray. So this is a seed tray size, but it doesn't have any holes in it. I have given it a wash as well, just because it's going over the top of the seedlings. So if you turn that upside down and put that over your seed tray, that will definitely keep the light out. So you can do that instead of the compost, or you can do that as well as the compost, but if you give it a nice thick layer, the compost should be enough. There we go, that's all done. Now obviously you do not have to put these on the shelf in the light, and I would recommend that you put them in the shade at the moment because it's just so warm. The seed trays are just drying out for a pastime. So I'm going to pop it on the shade. If you want to, you can take it indoors as well because it doesn't need light until they germinate, but do keep an eye on them and move them out to the light as soon as you start to see little green seedlings popping up. There, the lovely warm temperatures should get those off to a flying start. We will be careful over winter with the watering though. They do not like a soggy bottom. That is what can cause plants to rot the most over winter. Clary sage is the same, Nigella's the same, larkspur doesn't like to have a wet bottom either. So we will keep the compost on the drier side once we head into winter, and we certainly will not be watering underneath when that happens. But if you've been growing along for a while with me, then you'll know that. And I will do some videos later on pricking out and make sure I put those up on the website for you. So fast forward, and this is the autumn jump starter, Chinese forget-me-nots, or Cynoglossom. Looking absolutely terrific, very, very healthy indeed. So fast forward, and I'm now planting out these Chinese forget-me-nots, about 20 to 22 centimetres apart. It is now May, and the Chinese forget-me-nots are looking absolutely fantastic. Look at those lovely leaves, they're such a pretty plant, I think. Just to show you, it is mid-September and I still have Cynoglossum now. So these were from a later sowing, so just save some of your seeds in your packet. You've got plenty. Aren't they lovely? Just that little splash of blue, which is really hard to come by at this time of the year.